Jumps have become a big part of cross-country riding, and you see them a lot even at World Cup level. So it is now an essential skill for a cross-country rider. So thanks to Mountain Bike Hopper, we're going to be using their coach ramp to learn how to jump safely for cross-country mountain biking. Nice! Today I've got a guest rider. We've got Nathan, who's a graphic designer for the GCN Plus app. So he's today's victim. Nathan, how long have you been riding?
Since I was about 10, 12.
That's a while then.
Yeah.
And you ride and race cross country?
Well, race is a bit ambiguous, but yeah, I try to anyway.
And how do you feel about jumps?
I try to avoid them if possible, but they're an essential part of XC now, so I kind of need to get my head around them.
Perfect. I think, yeah, step one, if you haven't got a dropper post, is just lower your saddle a bit. Try not to scratch your lovely carbon post, but it definitely helps having a bit more space to move around on the bike. Modern cross-country tracks have also seen the rise in popularity of dropper seat posts. On amateurs bikes and even on the pros, where the races get more technical, you're much more likely to see those racers take the weight penalty and use a dropper post. It's especially important when they're really trying to move around the bike on super technical terrain. And yes, you can ride this stuff and hit jumps with a height seat post, which leaves you with a much smaller margin for error, especially when you're learning. Let's hit the Mountain Bike Hopper, see how you feel.
Sounds good.
So the Mountain Bike Hopper Coach is one of the lighter weight ones, so super easy to move around. So actually you can get a pretty decent amount of height, decent pop off the smaller ramp, but I'm going to stick it in, stick this back to sort of normal, make it a bit longer, keep it on the lowest setting for now, but I think with a longer takeoff, it'll probably be a bit easier to get a feel for the ramp. What are you thinking now, Nathan? How's it looking?
It's looking a bit bigger, isn't it?
It can be a bit weird if you've never hit like a wooden ramp before, but the good thing about it compared to dirt is it's way more predictable, is it? Yeah. How's it a bit intimidating first time hitting the wood?
Yeah, a little bit.
So I've been working a little bit on getting some pop on the smaller ones, which we'll talk about in a minute, but I think first few times hitting the bigger ramp, just sort of don't go mad, obviously just sort of ride off then with a bit of speed, get a feel for the shape of the takeoff.
Okay.
You see how your weight went a bit forward then? That's where I think just a touch more speed and just that extra momentum will carry your front wheel off the edge, so you won't get the point where it goes going up and then all of a sudden it sort of stops and dives. A bit more speed, your back wheel will follow, and then we'll talk about sort of making height from the takeoff. So just a bit more speed and just try and relax and you'll sort of flow with it. If you try and hit it with speed and try and do something and get the front wheel off, that's when you can start making mistakes. So there really isn't any difference between jumping a cross-country bike or a trail bike, down bike, whatever. Today I'm on my all-bay Rockham, so definitely in the trail bike area. Basically the things that make it harder on a cross-country bike is having a high saddle, having low bars, but also things like, you know, less grippy tyres. The more chance of you getting it wrong, the less chance of you actually gripping. So the thing to make it easier is to lower your saddle out of the way and then get used to moving around, as I've talked to Nathan a bit already. A lot of cross-country riders, if they're not used to really swinging their weight around behind the saddle, then they probably won't do it enough when it comes to hitting jumps. And that's why it's really important to practice pumping, moving around on the bike, on the trail, and then taking it back to the jumps. I look for your hips. So your hips show me where your weight is, and it kind of stays central, but you're on a cross-country bike, so compared to even my bike, your bars are going to be lower, seat's going to be higher, so weight is going to be biased towards the front. You can see as your speed goes and your hips stay central, it does turn into a big nosedive. So the thing really to do is initially try and slide the bike forward a little bit. So as you hit the takeoff there, that's fine, but in the middle of the bike is fine. Then as your front wheel goes off the edge, just think about dropping your heels and moving your hips back slightly, which is kind of alien sometimes to cross-country riders if you're used to riding with a fixed post high up. Obviously getting behind the saddle, you do it on the steepest stuff, but it's not that nice a place to be, especially when you're jumping. But now you've got your seat low, you've got a bit of space to move around. So maybe just on the grass coming in, just have a feel for like sliding the bike forward and I'll do it as well. And then when you get to takeoff, like I say, roll in nice and central. As you go up, then slide the bike forward. And it really is a case of, again, looking where you're going and pushing your hands away from you. Does the same trick. If you push your hands away from you, your hips will go back and your heels will drop, and it gets you in the position you need to be in.
Okay.
So you can see, as I just come into shot, I'm kind of central, hips above saddle, head above bars, and then I'll start sliding. As the front wheel goes up, I'm kind of sliding back at the same time.
Yeah.
And obviously I've got my seat slammed, but you can see the difference. You can see it right there. My hips would be behind my saddle, even if it was quite high up. Head up, arms straight, and you see how much higher my front wheel stays, because weight is above the rear axle now. Your position coming in, where you kind of stay right above it.
Yeah.
And I guess hips go back, but one thing I'm not seeing is your sort of body, your chest moving.
Yeah.
So that's where I'd expect the arms to now be further out in front of you.
Hard work. Weird to get your head around it, but good fun.
A good way of sort of getting a feel for it as well is trying to soak it up. So imagine if you don't, basically there's a low ceiling, you don't want to hit your head. So trying to hit that takeoff, but stay as low as you can. That's good for sort of getting you relaxed in the legs. I'll try and show you that. But basically I'm going to hit it, nice and tall, ready position, and as I go up it, I'm going to let my back wheel come up to me by bending my legs and the bike coming up to me. So as you take off, like I'll be quite low on the bike, and I then really get a feel for the timing of hitting it and then doing something. As the transition comes up, you then sort of work against it. Big thing with pump tracks is to make any speed, you've got to move around the bike. So that's what we're looking for on the takeoff, is just a bit more movement. Now you've got your seat low, trying to get a bit more comfortable, I suppose, with getting in front and behind, more behind than anything. And when you're trying to make the most speed, it's all about getting over the rear wheel and trying to squash it into the transitions. And pumping really does help when it comes to progressing with jumps. Nice. It looks good, you're making speed. Try and do some laps without pedalling at all, and it'll make your work even harder. It is properly tiring. When you get pumping well, what you're doing is squatting and pushing, and after a couple of laps, you'll be absolutely blowing. Yeah. This is what I used to do, just ride dirt jumps and do this 24/7.
Yeah.
You should learn how to make speed from transitions.
Yeah.
Naturally, cross-country rides can be more focused on fitness and trail skills, but as the trails have got more tech and jumpy, then new skills are needed. Moving around and being loose on the bike can feel more alien if you're more used to a high saddle and a more consistent riding stance. Let's try riding a flow trail to loosen up, just what I think Nathan needs, before heading back to the hopper.
I've just taken the back off it, so made it a bit lower, but then I've put these legs a bit higher, so I've made it shorter, less high, but a bit more poppy. We'll see how that works. Nice, it's good.
That was better.
You got a nice pop then, so I'm looking at your wheels and I want it to follow like that arc shape.
Yeah.
Whereas before your front wheel was just going like that too early, that time they did Basically why I talk about doing bunny hops and learning that motion for jumps, because you need your wheels to follow the same sort of, what's the word, trajectory through the air.
Yeah.
Great thing about this ramp, I suppose, is at the moment we've got a step down. Basically we're sort of jumping down into a bit of a downslope, but if we have found a bank, which I'm sure we could, and make like almost a step up, then that would have worked nicely. You would have landed nose down on top of that jump, so cool.
Feels a lot more in control. Feels like I can practice the basics a bit more rather than nosing out all the time.
Nathan, you ready to move it on?
Yeah, go on then.
Next challenge, grass is lava. I've made a virtual gap, you've got to clear the grass and land into the dirt.
All right.
Oh, hits the lava. Just a bit more pop to get over that. There's really like two ways of making more length or more height, same thing really. Either a bit more speed or a bit more pop, and that's when you're looking into putting a pump into that takeoff, and then just like the pump track, big pump in, that's when you need a bit of movement back as you hit the takeoff as well, and that'll give you the height. But
okay,
try a bit more speed maybe.
Let's do it.
Nice, bombing.
I didn't get the grass.
No, it's good.
Jumping is a difficult skill that takes time to master. Relaxing and moving around on the bike takes practice. Pump tracks and flow trails are brilliant for that. Then repetition on a consistent jump will massively help you improve.
Right, so there's a few tips on how to jump your cross-country bike. I guess real tips are to start off small, learn to move around the bike, and then start making the ramp bigger, get some air. I think the two most important things are pumping and learning to bunny hop. So we've done videos on those, check those ones out. Give us a thumbs up if you love jumping your bike.